Welcome back. Tonight, we drift through the sleepy streets of the Wild West. So wherever you are, however your day has been, you have nothing to do now but rest. There are no twists tonight, nothing to follow, nothing you need to remember in the morning. A city of weathered wood and dry dust, growing still beneath a fading desert dusk. We'll drift slowly, in no hurry to be anywhere at all. If these journeys help you rest, you're welcome to follow along, but only if you'd like to. And if you're listening now, leave the name of your city and the time where you are. Wherever you're listening from, you're in good company tonight. So let yourself settle. Let your shoulders soften, and let your eyes close whenever they're ready. Breathe in slowly, and let it go. There's no need to stay awake for any of this. Just let the streets of the Wild West come to you. The story of the American West often begins with a simple mistake. In the high desert of Nevada, early miners spent their days panning for gold. They worked the streams with quiet hope, but they kept finding a heavy, sticky blue mud. It clogged their wooden sluice boxes. It ruined their tools. They threw it away in deep frustration. For a long time, no one knew what it was. Then, in 1859, someone finally tested that dark clay. It was not worthless dirt. It was nearly pure silver ore. That annoying mud held one of the richest strikes in history. The discovery built Virginia City almost overnight. You can still walk those steep streets today. The wind blows through the old wooden frames. It is a quiet reminder of how luck works. Sometimes the very thing in your way is exactly what you are looking for. Just across the border in California, another camp grew from a different kind of chance. A prospector named W.S. Body found gold in these barren hills. It was 1859. He staked his claim in the dry earth. But the mountains here are unforgiving. Before he could see a town rise, a sudden blizzard swept through the valley. He froze to death in the deep snow. Years later, the camp grew into a booming settlement. The people wanted to honor the man who started it all. They hired a sign painter to make it official. But the painter made a small mistake. He misspelled the name on the sign. He swapped a few letters around. The town became Body, with an I and an E. The mistake was carved into wood and stone. It became permanent. Today, the ghost town stands empty in the cold wind. Further south, the dry earth of Arizona held its own secrets. In 1877, a man named Ed Schieffelin rode into the desert. He was looking for rocks. A soldier warned him to turn back. The land was controlled by Apache warriors. The soldier said the only stone Chieflin would find out there was his own tombstone. But the prospector kept going. He walked into the harsh, bright landscape. He did not find a grave. Instead, he found a massive vein of silver. When it came time to name the new mining camp, he remembered the soldier's warning. He called the town Tombstone. It was a grim joke that stuck forever. The silver made the town rich. The name made it famous. You can still feel the dust on your boots there. The old wooden boardwalks creak under the hot sun. The desert keeps its quiet watch. High up in the Rocky Mountains, another fortune started with a simple bag of groceries. A small gold camp in Colorado was slowly dying out. The streams were empty. The miners were leaving. But a local store owner decided to take one last gamble. He gave a grub stake to two poor shoemakers. He traded them basic food and supplies for a share of whatever they found. It was 1878. The shoemakers dug a shallow trench in the cold dirt. They did not find gold. They struck a massive vein of silver instead. That single grocery trade changed the map. The dying camp transformed into Leadville. It became the highest altitude boomtown in the entire West. The air up there is thin and sharp. The snow caps the peaks for most of the year. The grand brick buildings still stand tall against the bright blue mountain sky. Not far away, the earth itself provided the perfect vault for hidden wealth. The town of Silverton sits deep inside a bowl of jagged peaks. It looks like a hidden fortress. But this shape is not just a trick of the light. The town rests perfectly inside the caldera of an extinct volcano. Millions of years ago, the earth cracked open here. The extreme heat and pressure cooked the rock. It created the exact geological recipe needed to form massive veins of silver and gold. The miners who arrived in 1880 did not know about the volcano. They only knew the rock was rich. They built their homes right in the center of the ancient crater. Today, the quiet streets sit in the shadow of those towering walls. The sun sets early behind the rim. The old brick storefronts glow in the fading mountain light. Sometimes a town survives because the world outside suddenly changes. Up in Montana, a camp called Butte was failing. The gold was gone. The silver was running out. The miners were packing their bags. But one visionary man looked closer at the dark rock beneath their feet. He realized it was copper. For a long time, copper was not worth much. Then, in 1882, something shifted. The light bulb was invented. Suddenly, the whole world wanted to build electrical grids. They needed miles and miles of copper wire. Butte had a mountain of it. The timing was perfect. The dying camp exploded into a massive industrial city. Huge wooden headframes rose into the sky. the earth was hollowed out to light up distant cities. You can still see those old mining towers today. They stand like quiet metal giants on the hill, watching the sun go down. Finding the ore was only half the battle. Sometimes the earth made it nearly impossible to build a town. In Arizona, a rich copper vein ran straight down a geological fault line. The miners could not build on flat ground. They had to follow the metal. So in 1890, they built the town of Jerome on a steep 30-degree incline. The entire settlement clung to the side of Cleopatra Hill. Houses were propped up on long wooden stilts. The streets were tight, winding switchbacks. From a distance, the town looked like it might slide right off the mountain. Living there meant walking up and down endless slopes. The views were sweeping and grand. The desert stretched out far below. Today, those old Victorian houses still grip the rocky slope. They lean slightly in the wind. They are a testament to sheer human stubbornness and gravity. A similar problem shaped another Arizona town just a few years later. Down in the Mule Mountains, miners found more rich deposits. But the canyons were incredibly narrow. The slopes were far too steep for normal dirt roads. Wagons could not make the turn. So the people of Bisbee had to think differently. In 1895, they began building their homes on tiny carved terraces. They stacked the houses up the rocky hillsides. To connect them, they built thousands of wooden stairs. The staircases became the actual streets of the town. Neighbors walked up and down these long wooden paths to visit each other. The mail was delivered by climbing endless steps. The layout feels more like a cliff dwelling than a western town. You can still walk those weathered stairs today. The wood is soft from a century of footsteps. The canyon breeze is cool. In Colorado, the terrain was even more extreme. The town of Telluride sat at the end of a deep box canyon. The walls were sheer rock. The peaks were covered in snow. For years, the town was completely isolated. The miners found massive ore deposits, but they could not get the rock out. They had to rely entirely on slow, stubborn pack mules. It took weeks to move anything. Then, in 1890, a miracle of engineering changed everything. Workers blasted a path through the treacherous mountain passes. They laid down a narrow-gauge railroad on a terrifyingly thin ledge. The little steam trains chugged high above the valley floor. They unlocked the wealth of the canyon. The town finally connected to the world. Today, the canyon is peaceful. The old tracks are gone, but the sheer cliffs still rise up, catching the last golden light of evening. Some towns were never supposed to exist at all. In 1874, George Custer led an expedition into the Black Hills. His men found gold in the cold streams. But this land belonged to the Lakota people. A treaty strictly forbade any settlement there. The miners did not care. They rushed in anyway. By 1876, Deadwood materialized almost overnight. It was a completely illegal camp. It hid deep within a steep, dark, forested gulch. There was no law. There was no government. It was just a chaotic cram of canvas tents and rough wooden shacks. The mud in the streets was thick and deep. The pine trees blocked out the sun. It was a place born out of pure greed and rule-breaking. Today, the gulch is much quieter. The brick buildings line the narrow valley. The wind whispers through the same dark pines on the ridge. While miners dug in the mountains, a different kind of wealth moved across the plains. The great cattle towns grew from the simple need to walk animals to market. Wichita started as a quiet little trading post by a river. The grass was tall and empty. Then, in 1865, a man named Jesse Chisholm blazed a wagon trail south to Texas. He just wanted a good route for trading goods. But cattlemen saw a different use for that dirt path. They repurposed the trail to drive millions of longhorn cattle north. The deep wagon ruts became a highway for hooves. The sleepy trading post suddenly became a major destination. The dust rose in thick clouds as the herds arrived. The town grew rich on the cattle trade. Today, the plains are paved over, but the wide sky still looks exactly as it did back then. The cattle needed a place to go, and one young man saw the perfect opportunity. Joseph McCoy was an entrepreneur with a very clear vision. In 1867, he looked at a tiny, quiet rail depot in Kansas. The town was called Abilene. McCoy bought up land and built a massive wooden stockyard. It was huge and empty. Then he sent riders south into the wild plains. He told them to find the Texas cowboys. He told them to convince the trail bosses to drive their herds to his specific depot. The gamble worked perfectly. The cowboys brought the cattle. The trains took them east. Abilene became the very first great cattle town. The wooden pens stretched out as far as the eye could see. The sound of lowing cattle filled the morning air. It was a city built entirely on grass, cows, and a very good sales pitch. Sometimes a town became famous purely by geographic accident. Dodge City is known as the ultimate cowboy capital. But it only earned that title because of a bug. Texas longhorn cattle carried a tick that spread a deadly fever. The farmers in eastern Kansas were furious. Their local cows were getting sick, so the state drew a strict quarantine line. They banned Texas cattle from the eastern counties. In 1878, they moved that line much further west. Millions of longhorns were suddenly forced to stop at one specific railhead. That railhead was Dodge City. The town did not plan to be the center of the universe. The map just shifted in its favor. The dusty streets filled with cowboys, cattle, and money. The saloons stayed open all night. The legend was born from a simple line drawn on a piece of paper to stop a tiny tick. Down in Texas, another cattle stop was waiting for its own stroke of luck. Fort Worth was a sleepy, quiet place. The cattle drives passed through, but the money always moved on. The town was on the edge of total economic collapse. The streets were empty. The future looked very bleak. Then, in 1876, the Texas and Pacific Railway finally laid tracks into town. The arrival of that iron road changed everything. The town did not just ship cattle anymore. It started processing them. Huge brick buildings went up. Fort Worth transformed into a massive meatpacking empire. The smell of smoke and industry filled the air. The train whistles echoed across the flat prairie. The town was saved by the sound of a steam engine. Today, the old brick stockyards still stand. The cobblestone streets hold the heat of the long Texas afternoon. The railroads did not just save old towns. They created brand new ones out of thin air. In 1867, the Union Pacific Railroad was pushing tracks across the empty plains. The executives looked at a map. They arbitrarily pointed to a flat, treeless spot in Wyoming. They decided it would be a terminal. There was nothing there but grass and wind. But the moment the spot was chosen, a city appeared. Thousands of people rushed to the site. They pitched canvas tents. They built wooden storefronts in a matter of days. They called it the Magic City because it sprang up so fast. Cheyenne was born entirely from a corporate decision. The dirt streets were loud with hammers and saws. The train tracks gleamed in the bright sun. It was a city willed into existence by the sheer force of iron and steam. One railroad town was born for a single fleeting moment. In 1869, two massive rail companies were racing across the country. The Central Pacific built east. The Union Pacific built west. They had to meet somewhere. That mathematical meeting point was a barren desert spot in Utah called Promontory. A temporary tent city sprang up in the dust. It existed solely for the day the tracks finally connected. Workers, engineers, and politicians gathered in the middle of nowhere. They drove a golden spike into the ground. The continent was finally linked. The telegraph sent the news across the world. And then, almost as quickly as it began, the moment passed. The tents came down. The people moved on. The town vanished back into the quiet desert. Today, The wind blows over the empty ground. The sagebrush grows where history was made on a sunny afternoon. Not every city was lucky enough to get a railroad by default. Denver was a growing town on the plains. But the Transcontinental Railroad decided to bypass it completely. The tracks went further north. In 1870, a bypass town was usually a dead town. The people of Denver knew this. But they refused to let their city fade away. They did not wait for help. The citizens raised their own funds. They pooled their money and built their own connecting rail spur. They laid the ties and spiked the rails themselves. They forced their way onto the map. That stubborn choice saved the city. The trains came down the new spur. The brick buildings kept rising. The city grew into a massive metropolis. You can still feel that independent spirit in the wide streets today. The mountains watch over a city that simply refused to die. Sometimes a city was built in a single afternoon. In 1889, the government opened up new land in Oklahoma. A quiet little train station sat on the grassy plain. It was called Guthrie. On the morning of the land rush, it was just a wooden depot and a few tents. Then a cannon fired. Thousands of people raced across the prairie on horses and wagons. They poured into the area like a flood. By the time the sun went down, Guthrie was a city of 10,000 people. The streets were already platted. The lots were claimed. Campfires burned as far as the eye could see. The night air smelled of smoke and sweat. It was a chaotic, beautiful burst of human energy. The town went from silence to a roaring city in just a few hours. The old brick buildings still line those southern streets today. Down on the southern border, geography created a very different kind of hub. The Rio Grande is a wide, muddy river. For a long time, it was the official border between two nations. But the river had a mind of its own. It constantly shifted its course through the soft desert sand. The border was fluid and unpredictable. Land that belonged to one country today might belong to the other tomorrow. This confusing geography required a permanent settlement to manage the chaos. By 1880, El Paso became that crucial international hub. People needed a place to stop, trade, and figure out where they actually stood. The town grew around the shifting water. The adobe walls baked in the hot sun. The wooden frontier buildings offered shade. Today, the river is tamed in a concrete channel. But the city still thrives on the edge of two worlds. Politics shaped the map just as much as rivers did. During the Civil War, the Union needed money. Arizona had deep reserves of gold, but the southern part of the territory was full of Confederate sympathizers. Tucson was a rebel stronghold. President Abraham Lincoln could not risk losing the gold. So in 1864, he made a very deliberate choice. He placed the new territorial capital far away in the northern mountains. He chose a spot in a dense pine forest. They called it Prescott. It was built specifically to secure the gold for the Union. The rough log cabins sat in quiet clearings. The air was cool and fresh. It felt completely different from the hot desert down south. The town was a political fortress, hidden in the trees. You can still walk around the old wooden governor's mansion today. The pines still drop their soft needles. Out on the coast, the rush for gold physically changed the shape of the land. In 1851, the harbor of San Francisco was a chaotic mess. Hundreds of wooden sailing ships sat in the water. Their crews had abandoned them to run off to the gold fields. The ships just rotted in the mud. The city was growing fast and needed more flat land. So they did something incredible. They sank the abandoned ships right where they sat. They filled the hulls with sand and dirt. They built wooden wharves over the top of them. The waterfront expanded outward into the bay. The city literally built its new streets on top of a buried fleet. Today, the modern financial district sits on that exact spot. Deep beneath the pavement, the old wooden masts and hulls are still there. They rest quietly in the dark, damp earth. Fire was the great enemy of every wooden western town. In Colorado, a mining camp called Central City learned this the hard way. The town was a dense cluster of dry pine boards. In 1874, a devastating fire swept through the steep dirt streets. It burned the original settlement to the ground in hours. The people lost everything. But they did not leave. They decided to rebuild, and they decided to do it right. They banned wooden buildings in the downtown core. They rebuilt the entire town in heavy, fireproof masonry. Masons laid thousands of red bricks. They built ornate, beautiful facades that could survive anything. That terrible fire is the only reason the town looks so grand today. The dense brick downtown feels like a small piece of a big city, dropped into a mountain canyon. The walls are cool to the touch in the evening. Sometimes a town did not burn. It just slowly faded away. In California, the bustling town of Calico was rich with silver. The streets were loud. The saloons were full. Then, in 1893, the federal government made a quiet decision in Washington. They repealed the Sherman Silver Purchase Act. The stroke of a pen caused the value of silver to drop like a stone. The mines closed. The money dried up. The town grew quiet almost overnight. People packed their wagons and left their homes behind. Calico did not die in a dramatic disaster. It just went to sleep. The desert wind blew through the empty wooden boardwalks. the rustic storefronts baked in the warm afternoon sun. It slowly turned into a peaceful ghost town. You can still walk those dusty streets today. The silence is heavy and calm. The hills keep their silver hidden in the dark. As the wild days ended, some towns found a new way to survive. They stopped mining the earth and started selling the scenery. In 1896, a famous showman named Buffalo Bill Cody looked at the map. He saw that people were starting to visit the wonders of Yellowstone. He deliberately sited a new town near the eastern edge of the park. He wanted to catch the early sightseers before they reached the geysers. He essentially invented the Western tourist gateway town. He built wide dirt streets and grand wooden hotels. He gave the visitors a safe, comfortable version of the frontier. The stagecoaches rolled in carrying people who just wanted to look at the mountains. The town of Cody thrived on this new kind of gold. Today, the same mountains draw people from all over the world. The sunset still paints the distant peaks in soft purple. Other towns survived by pure geographic luck. In Arizona, the gold mining boom in Oatman finally came to an end. The veins were empty. The miners were leaving. The town was ready to become just another forgotten ruin in the desert. But then, in 1926, a new line was drawn on the map. The newly commissioned Route 66 happened to run directly through the center of town. The old dirt Main Street became part of the most famous highway in America. Oatman did not have to die. It just pivoted. It stopped serving tired miners and started serving tired motorists. Early automobiles chugged up the dusty road. The old wooden storefronts sold gas and cold drinks instead of pickaxes. The rugged mountains watched the cars roll by. Today, the road is quieter. But the town is still there, resting in the bright, warm desert sun. Beneath the modern streets of San Francisco, a hidden world moves in the dark. You can hear a quiet hum if you listen closely. It comes from a massive network of steel cables. They glide through deep brick channels under the pavement. These heavy lines are coated in thick grease. They spin over large iron pulleys day and night. This hidden system powers the famous cable cars above. It works exactly as it did in the late 19th century. The city has grown tall and bright all around it. Yet this subterranean engine remains unchanged. It pulls the heavy wooden cars up the steep hills. The cables never stop their smooth, endless loop. You can feel the vibration through the soles of your shoes. It is a gentle reminder of the past. The old machinery still breathes beneath the modern rush. It keeps the city moving at its own steady pace. Further inland, the waterfront of Sacramento hides its own buried secrets. The modern pavement you walk on is not the original ground. In the 1860s, the city faced terrible floods. The river kept rising into the streets and shops. To fix this, workers raised the entire downtown by a full story. They built new roads right over the old ones. Today, a hidden network of hollow brick sidewalks sits below the modern street level. You can still find the original arched doorways down there. Old cobblestone floors rest quietly in the dark. Modern utility pipes now run along the ceilings of these forgotten paths. The old city simply became the basement for the new one. People walk above these empty corridors every single day. Most never know they are stepping over a buried 19th century town. The old brick walls just wait in the cool shadows. High in the dry mountains of California, the town of Body sits completely still. It is kept in a state of arrested decay. The wooden buildings are not restored, but they are not allowed to fall. You can look through the wavy glass of the old windows. Inside, the abandoned homes look just as they did decades ago. The town was finally left empty in the 1940s. People walked away and left their daily lives behind. Tables are still set with antique plates and dusty cups. Old glass bottles sit on the wooden counters. Heavy wooden chairs wait for people who will never return. The dry desert air preserves the wood and fabric. The wind rattles the loose boards on quiet afternoons. Sunlight moves slowly across the dusty floors. It feels like the residents just stepped out for a moment. The silence here is heavy and completely peaceful. Across the border in Nevada, Virginia City rests on a fragile foundation. The entire town sits on a hollow honeycomb of deep silver mines. In the early days, the soft rock kept collapsing on the miners. An engineer invented a brilliant new method to hold the earth up. He designed a system of square-set timbering. Workers stacked heavy wooden cubes together, like building blocks. These interlocking timbers formed massive grids deep underground. They supported the heavy rock ceilings, and kept the tunnels safe. Today, those thick wooden frames still hold up the streets above. The modern town goes about its business right over this vast wooden maze. You can stand on the pavement and imagine the deep shafts below. The old wood has held strong for over a century. It is a quiet feat of engineering hidden in the dark. The town literally rests on a wooden skeleton. Out in the quiet desert of Austin, a strange stone tower watches over the valley. It is known as Stokes Castle. A wealthy railroad magnate built this three-story structure as a summer home. He wanted it to look like an ancient Roman villa. Workers used rough blocks of local granite to build the thick walls. It stands alone on a steep, rocky hillside. The views from the top stretch out for miles across the dry brush. Yet the family only lived in the tower for a single month. They left it behind, and it has stood empty ever since. Today, the narrow stone building looks like a lonely chess piece. A modern chain-link fence keeps visitors at a safe distance. The empty window frames let the desert wind blow right through. The late afternoon sun turns the rough stone a warm gold. It is a beautiful, puzzling monument. Further down the lonely highway, the town of Eureka holds a colorful secret. Inside the historic opera house, the stage is quiet and dark. But a rare treasure hangs just above the wooden floorboards. It is a perfectly preserved painted canvas stage curtain from the 1920s. This massive cloth functions as a beautiful time capsule. It is covered in hand-painted advertisements for local businesses. You can read the names of old mercantile shops and liveries. These stores closed their doors nearly a century ago. The bright colors have barely faded in the cool, dry air. Modern stage lights now illuminate the vintage lettering. The curtain tells the story of a busy, thriving community. It is a piece of everyday art that survived by simply hanging still. The empty theater seats face this colorful piece of the past. The room feels like it is waiting for the next show. Up in Oregon, the modern sidewalks of Pendleton hide a vast underground maze. Beneath the busy streets lies a forgotten network of dark tunnels. They were originally dug by Chinese immigrants long ago. Strict curfews and harsh laws made it dangerous for them to walk above ground. So they built an entire hidden city down in the dark. They carved paths through the rough basalt rock. Heavy wooden beams were placed to hold up the heavy stone ceilings. They ran laundries, shops and homes safely out of sight. Today, warm artificial light casts long shadows against the old rock walls. Modern electrical pipes run along the ceiling of these quiet corridors. The air down here is cool and smells of damp earth. It is a silent monument to survival and clever engineering. The busy town above rarely thinks about the deep paths below. The tunnels just wait in the quiet dark. In the Green Mountains of Idaho, the town of Wallace pulled off a brilliant legal trick. Every single building in the downtown area is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. This was not just a matter of civic pride. It was a deliberate strategy to save the town. A massive federal highway project threatened to bulldoze their beautiful architecture. By registering every brick building, the town forced the highway to go over them instead. Today, a massive concrete overpass looms directly above the historic streets. Perfectly preserved Victorian commercial buildings sit safely in its shadow. The modern cars rush by high in the air. Down below, the quiet streets look just as they did a century ago. The red brick walls and tall windows survive the threat of progress. It is a strange and wonderful contrast. The heavy concrete sky protects the delicate history of the town. Over in Montana, the skyline of Butte is unlike any other city. Towering black steel structures rise up right in the middle of town. These are the old mining headframes. They were massive elevator winches used for deep copper mines. Today, they stand like rusted industrial monuments against the sky. You can find them sitting directly next to modern residential houses. Contemporary cars park in driveways just feet from the heavy steel legs. The dark metal frames look striking against the soft twilight sky. They are a constant reminder of the deep shafts below the neighborhoods. The city grew right around the heavy machinery. Nobody bothered to tear them down when the digging stopped. They simply became part of the local scenery. The wind whistles through the open steel beams on quiet nights. They are beautiful, towering ghosts of a very busy past. The neighborhood sleeps soundly beneath them. Just a short drive away, Nevada City preserves a different kind of machinery. The town holds a massive collection of 19th century music machines. They sit quietly in their original wooden arcades. These large, ornate wooden boxes hide complex brass gears and paper rolls. They were the jukeboxes of their time. You can look through the glass fronts and see the delicate internal parts. Amazingly, these intricate machines are still fully functional today. The old wood is polished and smooth to the touch. The dim light of the arcade room makes the brass gears shine. When they play, the bright, mechanical music fills the dusty room. It is a cheerful sound that echoes off the old walls. The machines wait patiently for someone to drop a coin. They are a joyful piece of history that you can still hear. The room feels alive with the promise of a song. Down in Wyoming, the Irma Hotel in Cody holds a truly royal piece of furniture. Inside the warm, modern restaurant sits a massive cherrywood bar. It stretches across the room, gleaming under the contemporary lights. This beautiful piece was actually a gift from Queen Victoria. She gave it to Buffalo Bill after he performed in England. The heavy wood was shipped in pieces across the Atlantic Ocean. It then traveled by rail, all the way to the western frontier. Today, intricate carvings and ornate mirrors decorate the dark wood. Modern glasses and bottles rest on the smooth, polished counter. It is strange to think of this elegant bar traveling so far. It left a royal palace to sit in a dusty frontier town. Now it is just a quiet place to get a drink. The rich red wood absorbs the soft chatter of the dining room. Further south in Cheyenne, a towering red brick clock rises above the train tracks. It belongs to the historic Union Pacific Depot. This beautiful tower was not built just to make the city look nice. It was a crucial piece of working infrastructure. The rail yard here was sprawling and incredibly busy. Train engineers needed to synchronize their pocket watches to avoid terrible crashes. The massive clock face allowed them to check the time from far away. Today, the ornate tower looks stunning at blue hour. Modern floodlights illuminate the red brick against the dark sky. Contemporary freight cars still roll through the active yard below. The old clock still keeps watch over the heavy steel tracks. It is a perfect blend of elegant design and pure function. The steady ticking of the clock matches the rhythm of the trains. The depot stands as a proud anchor for the city. Over in South Dakota, the basement of Deadwood's Bullock Hotel hides a heavy secret. Deep underground, you can find the original stone vaults used by Sheriff Seth Bullock. He built these massive safes to store the gold dust brought in by local miners. The thick stone walls and heavy iron doors were designed to stop any thief. Today, this historic vault sits quietly in a modern utility room. Contemporary white pipes and electrical wires run right past the antique iron. The room is lit by the steady hum of fluorescent lights. It is a strange mix of old wealth and modern plumbing. The heavy door remains slightly open, revealing the dark, empty space inside. The gold is long gone, but the cold stone remains. It is a quiet reminder of the wild, dangerous days of the gold rush. The hotel guests sleep soundly right above the empty vault. Down in Kansas, the upper walls of Dodge City tell their own quiet stories. If you look up along Front Street, you will see faded ghost signs. These old painted advertisements cling to the weathered red brick facades. They promote 19th century tonics, dry goods and hardware stores. The paint is peeling and soft, washed out by decades of bright sun. These vintage signs hover quietly above the modern tourist shops below. Contemporary signs and paved roads fill the street level. But the upper stories still belong to the past. The afternoon sunlight catches the texture of the old brick and faded letters. It is easy to walk right past them without looking up. They are a gentle, visual echo of the busy frontier days. The old businesses are gone, but their names refuse to fade completely. They watch over the modern traffic with quiet patience. In the busy heart of Denver, Colorado, the Brown Palace Hotel hides a breathtaking interior. When you walk inside, you enter a grand, 8-story atrium. Ornate iron balconies wrap around the open space on every floor. If you look straight up, you will see a massive stained glass skylight. It glows with soft, colorful light high above the lobby. This beautiful feature was actually an architectural necessity. The hotel was built before widespread electricity was available. The open atrium was designed so every interior room could receive natural daylight. Today, Modern interior lighting mixes with the sun from above. The warm glow fills the quiet, elegant space. The sound of footsteps echoes softly off the polished stone floors. It is a peaceful sanctuary right in the middle of the city. The clever design still works perfectly after all these years. The light simply pours down from the glass roof. Just up the mountain in Central City, a famous face looks up from the floor. Inside the historic Telehouse Hotel, a portrait is painted directly onto the pine floorboards. It is known as the face on the barroom floor. An artist painted the beautiful woman in 1936. He wanted to mimic a famous Gold Rush poem and legend. Today, the worn pine boards show the gentle marks of time. A low, modern brass railing protects the delicate paint from heavy boots. Warm interior lighting casts a soft glow over the woman's painted features. She stares up at the ceiling with a calm, mysterious expression. Visitors stand at the railing and look down in quiet wonder. It is a simple piece of art that became a permanent part of the building. The old wood holds the paint like a cherished secret. The bar remains quiet and still. Higher up in the Rockies, the Tabor Opera House in Leadville holds on to its elegance. This grand theater was built with premium materials from back east. Every piece had to be hauled over treacherous mountain passes by heavy wagons. The effort was massive, but the result was stunning. Today, the dusty balcony still features rows of antique red velvet seats. They sit on ornate cast iron frames, bolted firmly to the wooden floor. The velvet is faded and soft to the touch. Soft, modern window light spills across the quiet, empty rows. You can almost hear the rustle of heavy coats and evening gowns. The seats have waited patiently in the dark for over a century. They are a physical reminder of the immense wealth that built this high mountain town. The quiet theater feels like it is holding its breath. The old velvet absorbs the silence of the room. Down in Durango, the Strata Hotel hides secrets right in the lobby. The walls are covered in ornate, dark walnut Victorian woodwork. It looks like standard, beautiful craftsmanship at first glance. But hidden within these wooden panels are small, secret compartments. In the 19th century, high-stakes poker games were common here. Gamblers needed safe places to stash their extra cash and weapons. The builders designed these hidden spaces just for them. Today you might notice a small wooden panel left slightly ajar. Inside is a dark, empty space, just big enough for a pistol or a purse. Warm modern lamps illuminate the rich grain of the dark wood. The secret doors blend perfectly into the carved trim. It is a clever, quiet piece of architectural deception. The dangerous games are long gone, but the hiding spots remain. The old wood keeps its secrets very well. Moving south to New Mexico, the Plaza Hotel in Las Vegas stands tall and proud. It was built in 1882 and called the Belle of the Southwest. The grand, three-story brick building features ornate white trim and arched windows. It looks incredibly elegant and refined from the modern paved plaza. But this beautiful Victorian facade hid a very rough reality. The upper floors were actually a favorite hideout for heavily armed outlaws. Famous figures like Doc Holliday used the hotel as a safe haven. Today, contemporary cars park quietly out front in the warm evening light. The building looks peaceful and completely respectable. You would never guess the violent history hidden behind the pretty brick walls. The elegant windows look out over the quiet town square. The hotel keeps its wild past locked away in the upper rooms. The evening shadows stretch across the peaceful plaza. Further west in Silver City, the center of town is missing entirely. The original main street is now a deep, tree-lined ditch. In 1895, a massive flood swept through the town. The rushing water completely washed away the dirt road and the storefronts. Instead of rebuilding, the town simply let the deep trench remain. Today, it is a sunken park known as the Big Ditch. Mature trees grow tall from the bottom of the steep earthen walls. A modern paved walking path winds through the quiet, shaded space. The backs of historic brick buildings line the upper rim of the trench. You can walk down below and look up at the old foundations. It is a beautiful, peaceful park created by a sudden disaster. The sound of birds fills the deep green space. The town simply adapted to the new shape of the earth. Down on the border in El Paso, Texas, the streets hide a dark, narrow history. Beneath the busy downtown sidewalks are the remnants of old smuggling tunnels. During Prohibition, these hidden paths connected directly to the Rio Grande. People used them to secretly move tequila and other goods across the border. Today, the dark underground corridors are mostly bricked up and forgotten. The crumbling brick walls end abruptly at modern cinderblock barriers. A single, harsh utility light illuminates the rough dirt floors. The air is stale and completely still. It is a claustrophobic space built for quiet, illegal work. The heavy rumble of modern traffic echoes faintly from the street above. These tunnels were once a vital, secret artery for the city. Now, they are just empty pockets of dark air. The city sealed away its rebellious past behind heavy concrete blocks. The hidden paths go nowhere at all. Up in Fort Worth, the historic stockyards rest on a very expensive foundation. The wide streets here are paved with miles of original red brick. This was not done just to make the area look nice. It was a massive infrastructure project, designed to solve a terrible problem. Millions of cattle hooves used to turn the dirt roads into knee-deep mud. The thick mud made it impossible to move wagons or walk safely. The city laid down these heavy paving stones to keep the streets solid. Today, the weathered, uneven bricks still carry the weight of the city. Modern streetlights cast a warm glow over the textured ground. Contemporary storefronts blur softly in the background of the early morning light. You can feel the slight bumps under your tires as you drive. The old bricks solved the mud problem perfectly. They still hold the street together today. Over in Arizona, the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone wears its history on its walls. The dim interior is covered in faded, peeling 19th century floral wallpaper. If you look closely, you will see over 140 distinct bullet holes. They puncture the walls, the ceiling, and even the old paintings. These splintered holes have been left completely untouched since the 1880s. They are a physical record of the town at its most violent peak. Warm, modern ambient lighting highlights the torn paper and cracked wood. The room is completely silent now, but the walls tell a loud story. It is rare to see such clear evidence of the past left exactly as it happened. The theater does not try to hide its rough edges. The bullet holes are treated like permanent architectural features. The quiet room holds the echoes of a very loud past. Down in the rocky hills of Bisbee, the Copper Queen Hotel fights the desert sun. The building was engineered with walls that are nearly 3 feet thick. This massive structural choice was not just for stability. It was designed specifically to keep the interior cool in the brutal summer heat. This was long before the invention of modern air conditioning. Today you can see the deep, recessed window frames set into the heavy plaster. The thick walls absorb the heat and keep the hallways dark and comfortable. Warm afternoon sun spills through the glass, but the heat stays outside. You can look out the deep windows onto the modern street below. The heavy construction still works perfectly to cool the building. It is a quiet, passive form of engineering that relies on sheer mass. The thick walls wrap around the quiet rooms like a heavy, protective blanket. High on a steep hillside in Jerome, a concrete building sits in the wrong place. It is known as the sliding jail. Over several decades, this solid cell block moved 225 feet downhill. The unstable geology was caused by constant dynamite blasting in the copper mines below. The earth simply gave way, and the heavy jail slid slowly down the slope. Today, it rests at an awkward, tilted angle far from its original foundation. It sits surrounded by modern desert scrub and a simple chain-link fence. The bright daytime sun casts hard shadows across the solid concrete walls. It looks like a toy block dropped carelessly on the rocky hill. The town could not stop the building from moving, so they just let it go. It is a strange, funny monument to the power of the shifting earth. The heavy jail finally found a place to rest. The day begins quietly in Dodge City, Kansas. Long before the sun fully rises, a soft mist clings to the ground. You can find a groundskeeper walking up the slope of Boot Hill. This famous cemetery holds the graves of outlaws and gunfighters. But in the early morning it is just a quiet piece of land. The worker carries a simple rake. He moves slowly between the wooden markers. He smooths the dirt with practiced, even strokes. The metal tines make a soft scratching sound against the earth. It is a daily act of respect. The town treats its rough past with gentle care. The air is cool and still. You can barely hear the modern city waking up in the distance. The mist begins to lift as the sky turns pale blue. The graves sit neatly in the fresh dirt. The groundskeeper finishes his work and walks back down the hill. Further north in Cheyenne, Wyoming, another patch of dirt gets the same careful treatment. The massive outdoor rodeo arena sits completely empty at dawn. The metal bleachers are cold and wet with dew. In a few hours the Frontier Days crowds will arrive. The space will fill with noise and dust. But right now, the only sound is a soft, steady hum. A single tractor drives in slow circles across the arena floor. It drags a wide rake behind it. The driver watches the soil turn over. He is preparing the ground for the horses. The dirt must be soft enough to keep the animals safe. The work is slow and methodical. The tractor leaves perfect, curving lines in its wake. The early light catches the dust hanging in the air. It feels like a private moment. The grandstands watch in silence. The arena breathes quietly before the long day begins. Down in San Antonio, Texas, the morning starts with a different kind of warmth. The local tortillerias open long before the rest of the city wakes up. Step inside one of these commercial kitchens, and the air is already thick. It feels humid, and smells like toasted corn. Workers stand by large stainless steel machines. They pour heavy bags of masa flour into the hoppers. The machines press the dough into perfect circles. You can hear a rhythmic slapping sound as the fresh tortillas hit the hot metal belts. The conveyor carries them through the heat. They puff up slightly as they cook. The warm, earthy scent drifts out into the dark streets. It is a comforting smell. People will buy these tortillas in a few hours. They will wrap them around eggs and beans. But for now, the kitchen is just a bright, warm room, humming with steady work. The sun rises higher over Bandera, Texas. People call this place the cowboy capital of the world. The town wakes up to a very specific sound. It is the sharp, clear ring of a hammer striking an anvil. Local farriers start their work early at the nearby ranches. They stand in open-air barns with their tools laid out. A truck is usually parked close by. The farrier pulls a glowing orange horseshoe from a small forge. He sets it on the heavy metal anvil. Sparks fly into the air with every strike. The hammer shapes the hot steel to fit a horse perfectly. The rhythmic clinking echoes across the quiet fields. It is a sound that has not changed in over a century. The horses wait patiently in their stalls. They chew their hay while the metal cools. The morning air smells like wood smoke and sweet grass. In Virginia City, Nevada, the morning commute sounds like a drumbeat. The town sits high on a steep hill. Its main street is lined with historic brick storefronts. But the sidewalks are made of thick wooden planks. When locals walk to the post office in the crisp air, their shoes hit the wood. The boardwalks echo with a specific, hollow thud. It is a sound everyone here knows intimately. You can tell how fast someone is walking just by listening. The wood is weathered and gray from the harsh sun. Some planks creak slightly underfoot. The sound bounces off the old brick walls. It feels like walking through a different century. But the people are just running normal errands. They carry coffee cups and wave to their neighbors. The hollow thud follows them down the block. It is the steady wooden heartbeat of a town that refuses to fade away. A similar morning routine happens in Bisbee, Arizona. This historic mining town was built into the sides of steep canyons. The streets are narrow and winding. They twist up the hillsides like ribbons. Modern mail trucks simply cannot fit on these tight roads. So, the residents share a quiet, daily ritual. They walk down the hill to the central post office. The building is old and filled with sunlight. Inside, an entire wall is covered in vintage brass lockboxes. The metal gleams softly in the morning light. People spin the small combination dials. The brass doors click open with a satisfying sound. Neighbors chat quietly while they sort through their letters. It is a peaceful way to start the day. The light reflects off the small glass windows on each box. The room smells like old paper and floor wax. The mail becomes a reason to step outside and connect. Over in Tombstone, Arizona, the morning coffee comes with a heavy wool coat. The town is famous for its history of gunfights and outlaws. Today, reenactors play the roles of Wyatt Earp and the cowboys. But before they put on their shows, they have a quiet routine. You can find them sitting together in a modern diner. They wear full 1880s wool suits and wide-brimmed hats. They slide into vinyl booths with chrome edges. The bright fluorescent lights hum overhead. They drink from thick white coffee mugs. The men talk about the weather and their weekend plans. It is a strange and wonderful sight. The heavy wool looks out of place next to the ketchup bottles. But no one in the diner stares. It is just a normal morning here. They finish their coffee and leave a tip on the table. Then they walk outside to face off in the dusty street. By late morning in Fort Worth, Texas, a much larger routine takes over the street. Every day at 11:30 a.m., a herd of massive Texas Longhorns walks down East Exchange Avenue. The street is paved with red bricks. Drovers ride alongside the cattle on horseback. They wear period-accurate gear, from their hats to their boots. The cattle move slowly. Their giant horns sway back and forth with each step. Their hooves click against the brick road. It is a quiet, rhythmic ritual. The bright morning sun casts long shadows behind them. Modern storefronts and streetlights line the avenue. But for a few minutes, the street belongs to the animals. The drovers guide them gently. They do this before the heavy tourist crowds arrive for the afternoon. It feels like a private parade. The cattle breathe heavily in the warm air. The past walks right through the middle of the present. Up in Butte, Montana, lunchtime brings out a very specific local tradition. Neighborhood shops bake fresh Cornish pasties every single day. This is a simple meat pie with a thick, crimped edge. It was originally designed for the copper miners who built this city. The miners had dirty hands from working deep underground. They could hold the thick crust, eat the warm center, and throw the dirty edge away. Today the mines are mostly quiet. But the pasty remains. You can see them lined up in modern glass bakery cases. They rest on metal baking sheets, golden brown and steaming. The shops smell like roasted meat, onions and butter. People line up on their lunch breaks to buy them. The thick crust still holds the heat perfectly. It is a heavy, comforting meal. The town still eats the exact same food that fueled its hardest days. The recipe never needed to change. Baking anything is a challenge in Leadville, Colorado. This town sits at an extreme altitude of over 10,000 feet. The air is thin and dry. Because of this, baking a simple cake requires a completely different set of rules. You cannot just follow a normal recipe. The temperature must be adjusted. The measurements for flour and sugar have to change. This knowledge is a local rhythm passed down through generations of cooks. You might see a handwritten recipe card on a modern kitchen counter. The original numbers are crossed out. New measurements are written in the margins. The warm sunlight streams through the window onto the mixing bowl. The locals know exactly how the altitude changes the dough. They know when to add more water. They know how long to leave it in the oven. It is a quiet science. The mountains dictate exactly how the food is made. As afternoon arrives in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the air changes completely. During the autumn months, the scent of roasting hatch green chilies fills the sky. Local grocery stores set up massive metal roasters in their asphalt parking lots. These large, cylindrical cages spin over open blue gas flames. They hum and crackle from dawn to dusk. The charred green chilies tumble inside the metal mesh. The afternoon sun beats down on the pavement. The smell is sharp, smoky, and sweet. It drifts for blocks in every direction. People stand by their cars and wait for their orders. The workers pour the hot, blackened peppers into plastic bags. The heat makes the bags steam. Everyone takes them home to peel and freeze for the winter. It is a seasonal clock. When you smell the smoke in the parking lot, you know the year is turning cold. In Taos, New Mexico, the changing seasons bring a different kind of work. The ancient adobe walls of the pueblo must be maintained. Every year, community members gather to re-mud the structures. It is a quiet, rhythmic application of wet earth and straw. They mix the mud in modern plastic buckets. Then they use their bare hands to smooth the brown clay over the curved walls. The wet earth smells rich and heavy. The bright sunlight bakes the new layer dry. This process binds the ancient architecture to the modern seasons. The walls slowly grow thicker over time. The soft curves of the buildings show the marks of thousands of hands. It is a slow, peaceful task. People talk quietly as they work. The mud feels cool against the skin. The buildings are never truly finished. They are living things that need constant care to stand against the wind and rain. A similar patience exists inside the trading posts of the Navajo Nation in Arizona. If you listen closely, you can hear a quiet, steady rhythm. It is the sound of a wooden loom, beating down wool threads. Weavers sit at large, upright frames. They spend months creating a single geometric rug. The techniques have been passed down for generations. The trading posts have modern tile floors and bright contemporary lighting. But the work itself has not changed. The weaver pulls the brightly colored yarn through the tight strings. Then she pulls the heavy wooden comb down to pack the threads tightly. Thump. Thump. The sound echoes softly in the large room. The patterns grow one tiny row at a time. The wool is rough and warm. The colors are bold and sharp. It takes immense focus to keep the edges perfectly straight. The finished rug will hold months of quiet time. Just down the road in Gallup, New Mexico, the results of local craft are carefully guarded. The pawnshops here open early in the day. They serve as vital community banks and meeting places. Inside, the shops are brightly lit and modern. Security cameras watch from the ceiling. Long glass display cases stretch across the room. They are packed with heavy silver and turquoise jewelry. These pieces are traded, stored and admired every single day. A thick silver bracelet might be pawned to buy hay for the winter. It will be bought back when the calves are sold in the spring. The jewelry is a living currency. People lean against the glass counters and talk with the owners. They inspect the intricate silver stamps and the blue stones. The shops hum with quiet deals and friendly greetings. The wealth of the community is worn on wrists and kept under glass. In Pendleton, Oregon, artisans work with a much softer material. They still hand-crease beaver felt hats using steam and wooden blocks. It is a slow, rhythmic process that has not changed in over a century. The workshop has warm overhead lighting. Plumes of white steam rise from the shaping machines. The hat maker pulls the dark felt tightly over a wooden mold. The steam makes the stiff material soft and flexible. The artisan uses their thumbs to press the perfect crease into the crown. Then they carefully sand the brim until it is smooth. The room smells like hot wool and damp wood. The work requires strong hands and a careful eye. Every hat takes time to get exactly right. The felt must cool and dry in its new shape. When it is finished, it will shed rain and block the sun for decades. It is built to last a lifetime. Leather workers in Sheridan, Wyoming share that same silent concentration. They spend hours bent over modern workbenches. A bright desk lamp shines down on a thick piece of brown leather. The worker holds a small metal stamp in one hand. They hold a wooden mallet in the other. They press the tool into the leather and strike it firmly. Tap, tap, tap. They are tooling intricate floral patterns into a custom saddle. The design grows slowly across the surface. The leather must be slightly damp to hold the impression. The room smells rich and earthy. The worker uses dozens of different stamps to create leaves, vines and flowers. It is exhausting work for the hands and wrists. But the result is beautiful and tough. The saddle will be used on a working ranch. It will sit out in the rain and the dust. The carved flowers will slowly darken with age. In Jackson, Wyoming, the town square requires a different kind of maintenance. The park is famous for its massive arches, made entirely of interwoven elk antlers. During the quiet off-season, local Boy Scouts carefully inspect the structures. The sky is often overcast and gray. The boys lean modern aluminum ladders against the bone arches. They look for antlers that have become too weathered or cracked by the snow. They pull the old ones out and replace them with fresh sheds. These new antlers are gathered from the nearby wildlife refuge every spring. The boys work carefully to weave the new points into the massive pile. A few loose antlers rest on the concrete sidewalk below. The arches feel organic and wild, even in the middle of a paved town square. It is a quiet, civic duty. The town keeps its most famous landmarks standing, one piece of bone at a time. As the afternoon fades in Amarillo, Texas, a giant dining room sits eerily quiet. The Big Texan Steak Ranch is famous for its massive meals and loud crowds. But in the mid-afternoon before the dinner rush begins, the space is still. The long wooden tables are empty. The Western decor hangs silently on the walls. Over in the open kitchen, the giant stainless steel grills are slowly being brought up to temperature. The ambient light catches the clean metal. Small blue flames begin to rise from the burners. The cooks move quietly, setting out their tools. They stack heavy plates and sharpen their knives. The room feels like a stadium waiting for a game to start. The air is cool, but you can feel the heat building near the kitchen. Soon, the doors will open. The grills will hiss with hundreds of steaks. But right now, it is perfectly peaceful. Evening brings a different kind of dining to Winnemucca, Nevada. The tradition of family-style Basque food survives in old boarding houses here. You walk into a warm, wood-paneled restaurant. The lighting is cozy and dim. Strangers sit together at long, communal dining tables. There are no private booths. You sit where there is an empty chair. The tables are crowded with massive white bowls of food. Steam rises from rich lamb stew and salty pinto beans. Plates of thick bread are passed down the line. People pour red wine into modern glasses. The room is loud with conversation and laughter. You might sit next to a rancher or a passing traveler. Everyone shares the same meal. The heavy bowls are passed from hand to hand. It is a warm, generous way to eat. The food is simple and filling. The cold, high desert night stays outside the heavy wooden doors. At dusk in Williams, Arizona, a massive machine comes home to rest. A restored vintage steam locomotive rolls back into the local depot. It has spent the day carrying passengers to the Grand Canyon. Now the dark iron engine sits quietly under the warm station lights. Soft white steam drifts from its undercarriage into the cool evening air. The train hisses softly, like a tired animal catching its breath. The crew walks alongside the massive iron wheels. They carry long oil cans. They meticulously oil the joints and gears in preparation for the next day. The metal is still hot from the journey. The smell of coal smoke and hot grease hangs in the air. The wooden depot is quiet. The passengers have all gone home. The crew works in the fading light. They wipe down the brass fittings. They make sure the old engine is ready to run again. Night falls completely over Cody, Wyoming. The nightly summer rodeo has just ended. The crowds have left the metal bleachers. The loud announcers have turned off their microphones. Now the slow, methodical work begins. Under the harsh, stark glare of the stadium floodlights, the massive bucking bulls are loaded up. A large, muscular bull walks slowly up a metal ramp. He steps into a modern aluminum livestock trailer. The night sky behind the stadium is pitch black. The handlers move quietly. They do not shout. They use gentle pressure to guide the heavy animals. The metal trailer clangs softly as the bull shifts his weight. The dirt in the arena is torn up from the show. But back here by the pens, everything is calm. The bulls are tired. The men are tired. The bright lights cast long, sharp shadows on the ground. The rodeo sleeps until tomorrow night. In Miles City, Montana, the night is just getting started. During the annual bucking horse sale, the town fills with cowboys. The local bars prepare for the crowds with an unwritten rule. They remove their bar stools entirely. If you walk into a rustic bar before opening, the room looks strange. The long wooden counter is completely bare. Modern beer taps and neon signs glow in the dim light. But there is nowhere to sit. The stools are hidden away in the back room. This is done to make room for the massive influx of standing customers. When the doors open, the room will pack shoulder to shoulder. People will lean against the wood and stand in tight circles. Taking the chairs away keeps the crowd moving. It prevents fights over seats. The empty room waits quietly. The neon lights buzz. Soon, the wooden floor will vanish under hundreds of dusty boots. Late at night in Tucson, Arizona, the sidewalks begin to smell like bacon. As the local bars prepare to close, food carts quietly set up on the corners. These gleaming stainless steel carts park under the bright street lamps. They serve the famous Sonoran hot dog. The hot dog is wrapped in bacon, grilled, and topped with pinto beans. Steam rises from the flat metal grills into the dark sky. The carts have their own warm lights glowing against the metal. The vendors chop tomatoes and onions with quick, rhythmic cuts. The smell of cooking bacon drifts down the block. It draws hungry people out of the bars. They stand on the modern concrete sidewalk and eat. The warm food cuts through the cool desert night. The city is mostly asleep, but around these bright little carts, there is a quiet, happy energy. It is the perfect end to a long night. Even later in Elko, Nevada, the quietest moments of a massive festival are happening. During the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering, the big stages close around midnight. But the most intimate moments happen in hotel lobbies at 2 in the morning. The modern lobbies are dimly lit with warm lamps. Small groups of people in cowboy hats sit in plush armchairs. They lean in close to listen. A working rancher softly recites verses to a circle of friends. There are no microphones here. The poetry is spoken just loud enough to hear. They talk about hard winters, good horses, and old friends. The room is perfectly still. People nod slowly in the shadows. The words carry the weight of real life on the range. It is a private sharing of art. The rest of the hotel sleeps upstairs. Down here, the stories keep the dark hours warm and alive. By 4 in the morning, Deadwood, South Dakota is finally empty. The historic saloons are closed to the public. Inside, the casino floors are being cleaned. A worker pushes a modern vacuum cleaner across the patterned carpet. The machine hums steadily in the large room. Rows of glowing modern slot machines blink silently in the dark. They sit directly next to massive, ornate mahogany bars carved in the 19th century. The contrast is striking. The bright digital screens flash their colors against the dark antique wood. No one is pulling the levers. No coins are clinking. The vacuum moves back and forth, erasing the footprints of the day. The grand wooden bar looks like a ghost ship floating in a sea of neon. The town rests for just a few hours. Soon, the sun will rise. The doors will open, and the games will begin all over again. Out on the high desert plains of West Texas, the horizon holds a quiet secret. If you stand outside Marfa at twilight, you might see faint orbs of light dancing in the distance. People have watched them drift across the dark scrub brush since the late 19th century. Early cowboys thought they were distant Apache campfires. Others guessed they were strange reflections of starlight. Today, we know they are a permanent atmospheric quirk. The cool desert air mixes with warm currents to bend light in unusual ways. Yet knowing the science does not break the spell. The glowing spheres still hover and fade in the deep blue dusk. They move with a slow, unpredictable grace. You can stand on a modern viewing platform and watch the exact same mystery that puzzled pioneers. The vast landscape stays perfectly quiet. The lights just keep their slow, silent rhythm along the edge of the world. Far to the north, hidden beneath the rocky surface of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, lies another natural wonder. Deep underground, natural geothermal vapor caves trap thick, mineral-rich steam. Long before the town was built, indigenous people used these dark, quiet chambers for healing and rest. You can still walk down into the stone rooms today. The air is heavy and warm. Soft droplets of water gather on the low rock ceilings. The only sound is the gentle hiss of steam rising from deep within the earth. Smooth stone benches line the walls, worn soft by generations of visitors seeking comfort. There is no bright light down here, only a dim, restful glow. The heat wraps around you like a heavy blanket. It is a rare chance to sit inside the mountain itself. The modern world fades away completely, leaving only the ancient steady breath of the hot springs. Sometimes, the strangest natural discoveries happen in places we created by mistake. In Butte, Montana, a massive former copper mine known as the Barkley Pit sits open to the sky. Over the decades, the deep terraced bowl filled with highly acidic, toxic water. It looks like a stark, rust-red lake surrounded by chain-link fences. Yet in the mid-90s, scientists found something impossible living in those dark depths. A completely new species of extremophile yeast was thriving in the harsh water. Life had quietly adapted to an environment that should have been empty. The tiny organisms float in the eerie green and red pools, completely undisturbed by the heavy metals. It is a strange kind of resilience. Even in a scarred landscape, nature finds a way to settle in and make a home. The quiet waters hold a microscopic world that exists nowhere else on Earth. Life adapts in much larger ways down in the sun-baked streets of Oatman, Arizona. This small desert town is completely overrun by feral burros. They are the shaggy descendants of pack animals that miners abandoned over a century ago. When the gold ran out, the burros simply stayed. Today they legally have the right-of-way on every paved road. You will often see a modern car waiting patiently, while three stubborn burros stand in the middle of the street. They wander past historic wooden storefronts and nap in the warm afternoon sun. The town simply works around them. They chew on sparse desert grass, and occasionally nudge visitors for a snack. It is a funny, peaceful kind of traffic jam. The animals move at their own slow pace, completely unbothered by the modern world. They own the town, and everyone else is just passing through. A different kind of living legacy thrives behind a former boarding house in Tombstone, Arizona. In the late 19th century, a young woman received a small cutting of a white rosebush from her family in Scotland. She planted it in the dry, dusty soil, hoping for a little piece of home. Against all odds, the plant survived. Today, it is the largest rosebush in the world. The massive canopy covers 8,000 square feet. A huge wooden trellis supports the thick, twisted vines above a quiet patio. Every spring, it erupts into thousands of tiny white blooms. The delicate flowers cast a soft, dappled shade over the ground below. It is a striking contrast to the harsh desert landscape just beyond the fence. The town is famous for rough frontier history, but its most enduring resident is just a quiet, sprawling garden that refused to stop growing. That same stubborn growth changed the entire landscape of Julian, California. When pioneers first arrived in the nearby mountains, they came looking for gold. They dug deep into the hillsides, hoping to strike it rich. But the gold veins dried up quickly, leaving the miners with empty pockets and tough choices. Instead of packing up and leaving, they looked at the rich mountain soil and planted apple trees. Those resourceful settlers left behind a beautiful, quiet legacy. Today, heritage apple orchards still cover the rolling hillsides. Every spring, the neat rows of trees burst into soft pink and white blossoms. The mountain air smells sweet and crisp. The old wooden cabins sit peacefully among the blooming branches. The town traded a fleeting rush of wealth for a slow, steady harvest. The gold is long gone, but the trees still give back to the town year after year. When natural resources were scarce, frontier builders had to get creative with whatever they could find. Out in the barren landscape of Rhyolite, Nevada, wood was nearly impossible to get. So in the early 20th century, a clever miner built his home out of glass. He collected 50,000 empty beer and liquor bottles from the local saloons. He stacked them neatly and bound them together with thick adobe mortar. The little house still stands today in the middle of the ghost town. The desert sun catches the green and brown glass, making the walls glow with a soft, filtered light. It looks like a strange, beautiful mosaic rising out of the dust. The wind blows quietly through the empty window frames. The town around it has mostly crumbled away, but the glass walls remain perfectly intact. It is a monument to making do with what you have. Sometimes, frontier architecture achieved a surprising level of elegance. Tucked away inside a historic saloon in Nevada is a truly remarkable piece of craftsmanship. If you walk into the dimly lit Washoe Club, you will find a towering wooden spiral staircase. It curves gracefully upward for 3 full stories. The strange thing is that it has no central pillar holding it in place. The antique wooden steps simply float in a perfect, unsupported spiral. The builder used precise angles and tension to keep the heavy structure standing. It is an architectural marvel hidden in a dusty mining town. The polished wood catches the soft glow of the room. You can almost hear the faint creak of footsteps from a century ago. It feels like a magic trick frozen in time. The elegant curves stand in quiet contrast to the rough, heavy timber of the surrounding building. Just down the road in Genoa, another piece of unexpected luxury survived the rough frontier. Inside the state's oldest continuously operating saloon, a magnificent antique mirror hangs behind the polished wooden bar. It was made in the 1840s, and the glass is backed with real diamond dust. The mirror had to survive a perilous ocean journey all the way around Cape Horn just to reach the west. Today it still catches the soft, warm light of the room. The diamond dust gives the reflection a faint, sparkling depth that modern mirrors cannot match. It has watched generations of travelers come and go. The heavy wooden frame is dark with age, but the glass remains perfectly clear. It is a quiet witness to over a century of late-night conversations. The saloon feels anchored by its steady, gleaming presence, a small piece of fine art in a rugged world. A much more public display of wealth shines bright against the sky in Cheyenne, Wyoming. The state capitol building features a gleaming dome covered entirely in real 24-karat gold leaf. It catches the bright afternoon sun and serves as a beacon for the whole city. But the brilliant display hides a surprising secret about its construction. The gold leaf is hammered so incredibly thin that it barely has any mass at all. If you scraped every single flake of gold off that massive roof, it would only weigh about as much as one standard gold brick. It is a brilliant illusion of endless wealth. The thin layer of precious metal ripples slightly over the stone curves of the roof. It looks heavy and solid, but it is lighter than a winter coat. The bright dome watches over the quiet streets, a clever trick of light and metal. In Central City, Colorado, the gold is not up on a roof, but right under your feet. During the height of the mining boom, the town needed a cheap way to pave its muddy roads. The mills had piles of low-grade gold ore that were not worth the cost of processing. So the town simply crushed the sparkling rock and spread it across the streets. Today, modern asphalt covers most of the town. But where the pavement has worn away, you can still see the crushed quartz shining in the sun. Modern residents are literally walking on streets of gold. The precious metal is trapped in unextractable quantities, locked forever in the dirt. It is a quiet reminder of a time when wealth was pulled straight from the ground. The town literally paved over its own fortune, leaving a faint, glittering trail for anyone who looks closely. Building a proper town in the rugged high desert required both money and a lot of imagination. In Austin, Nevada, the local Methodist church needed funds to build a permanent sanctuary. A clever reverend came up with a brilliant plan. He created a fake business called the Methodist Mining Company. He sold shares of stock to wealthy investors back east, promising them a stake in the frontier. He used every single penny to finance the construction of a beautiful brick church. The serene building still stands quietly among the sagebrush today. The warm red bricks glow in the early morning light. It is a peaceful, sturdy structure born from a very polite scam. The investors never got their silver, but the town got a beautiful place to gather. The quiet sanctuary rests easily on the hillside, a monument to faith, community, and a very creative fundraising strategy. Some frontier towns have barely changed since those early days of creative survival. High in a remote mountain valley, Silver City, Idaho, operates almost entirely off the grid. The town has no gas stations, no paved roads, and no year-round running water. Yet it still maintains a fully functional, historic 19th century hotel. The large white wooden building features a wide welcoming wraparound porch. It sits quietly on a dirt road, looking exactly as it did 100 years ago. Modern solar panels on a nearby shed provide just enough power to keep the lights on. The rooms are simple, quiet and deeply peaceful. At night, the valley falls completely dark, and the stars shine with incredible clarity. The hotel offers a rare chance to step out of the modern rush. It is a place where time simply stopped, preserved by the quiet isolation of the mountains. Not all historic hotels are quite so peaceful. Down in Cimarron, New Mexico, the St. James Hotel holds onto a much rougher past. If you look up in the dimly lit hallway, you can count 22 jagged bullet holes in the ornate tin ceiling. They are quiet reminders of the wild, unpredictable nights of the old frontier. The owners have carefully preserved the damage, letting the building wear its history openly. But the strangest detail is room 18. The heavy wooden door is permanently padlocked from the outside. The owners refuse to rent it out to anyone. Local legend says it belongs to the restless spirit of a murdered cowboy. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the locked door adds a heavy, quiet mystery to the hall. The rest of the hotel is warm and inviting, but that one room stays dark, keeping its secrets safely locked away. Sometimes the past leaves its mark not in bullet holes, but in forgotten rules. In Dodge City, Kansas, a strange law is still technically on the books. It is strictly illegal to spit on the wooden sidewalks. The rule is a leftover remnant from a 19th century tuberculosis panic. City leaders wanted to stop the spread of illness, so they banned the habit entirely. The panic eventually faded, but the law was never officially repealed. Today, you can still find small metal signs bolted to the wooden posts along the boardwalk. They politely remind visitors to keep the walkways clean. The weathered wood creaks softly under your feet as you walk past the modern paved street. It is a funny little quirk of civic history. The town grew up and modernized, but it never bothered to erase this one small, polite demand from a century ago. You can feel the weight of history under your feet at the Hubble trading post in Arizona. The rustic building still has its original wooden floorboards from 1878. Over the past century, thousands of quiet footsteps have worn the thick wood into smooth, undulating grooves. Navajo weavers, frontier traders, and modern travelers have all walked across this exact same floor. The warm sunlight filters through a nearby window, casting gentle shadows across the deep grain. You can see exactly where people stood the longest, waiting at the counter to trade their goods. The wood feels soft and polished beneath your shoes. It is a beautiful, physical record of daily life. The building does not just hold history, it has been slowly shaped by it. The quiet room smells of dry earth and old timber, holding onto the steady, peaceful rhythm of 100 years of trade. A different kind of wooden history is still in active use over in Columbia, California. Tucked inside a timber-framed building is a perfectly preserved 19th century bowling alley. It still operates exactly as it did during the mining camp days. Players roll heavy, solid wooden balls down the worn, uneven lanes. There are no flashing lights or automatic pin setters here. The room is lit by soft daylight, drifting in from the side windows. When a turn is over, the balls roll back on a simple gravity-fed wooden trough. The heavy wood makes a deep, satisfying rumble as it moves down the track. It is a slow, deliberate game. You have to adjust your throw to account for the dips and curves in the antique floor. The quiet clatter of wooden pins echoes through the room, a simple, joyful sound that has not changed in over a century. That same love for simple, enduring games lives on in a quiet corner of Arizona. Warren Ballpark is a meticulously maintained baseball field that was built in 1909. It stands proudly as one of the oldest continuously operating baseball stadiums in the entire country. The rustic wooden grandstands wrap gently around a simple dirt diamond. In the late afternoon, the field is bathed in soft golden light. The green grass is cut perfectly short, and the white chalk lines glow against the red dirt. When the stadium is empty, it feels incredibly peaceful. You can sit in the shaded wooden seats and listen to the wind rustle through the nearby trees. Generations of players have rounded these exact same bases. The park does not need massive screens or modern luxury. It just needs a warm afternoon, a gentle breeze, and the quiet promise of a good game. Civic pride often comes from the most unlikely places. Fort Worth, Texas, is proudly known as Panther City, a nickname that started as a bitter insult. Back in 1875, a lawyer from a rival town wrote a mocking article. He claimed Fort Worth was so dead and quiet that he saw a panther sleeping in the middle of the street. Instead of getting angry, the locals thought the insult was hilarious. They embraced the sleeping cat as their official mascot. Today, you can find a beautiful bronze statue of a resting panther in a contemporary downtown plaza. It lies peacefully on a concrete pedestal, surrounded by modern glass skyscrapers. The afternoon sun warms the dark metal. The city grew into a massive, bustling hub, but it never forgot its quiet roots. The sleeping panther remains a perfect symbol of a town that knows how to take a joke. A similar sense of dark humor shaped the final resting place of two famous frontier figures. Up in Deadwood, South Dakota, Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane are buried right next to each other. Many people assume the side-by-side graves are a sign of a great frontier romance. In reality, it was a posthumous prank played by the locals. Hickok reportedly disliked Jane quite a bit while he was alive. When she passed away years later, the town decided it would be funny to place her right beside him for eternity. The two stone markers sit quietly in a grassy cemetery today. Modern wrought iron fencing surrounds the plot, keeping the peaceful site safe. The overcast light casts soft shadows over the carved names. It is a gentle, permanent joke played on a legendary gunslinger. The two of them rest quietly together, bound forever by the town's mischievous sense of humor. Some frontier stories end with a much heavier kind of loyalty. High in the snowy mountains of Leadville, Colorado, sits the weathered cabin of the Matchless Mine. This small wooden shack is where a woman named Baby Doe Tabor spent 36 years of her life. Her dying husband had told her to hold on to the silver mine, promising it would make her rich again. The silver market had already crashed, and the mine was completely worthless. Yet she stayed, guarding the empty shaft through decades of bitter winters. She finally froze to death in the cabin in 1935. Today, a modern protective fence surrounds the rusted corrugated metal roof. The cold winter sunlight shines brightly on the rough wooden walls. The quiet cabin is a monument to stubborn hope and tragic devotion. The wind howls through the pines, sweeping over the empty mine she refused to leave. Taking anything away from these historic sites can sometimes bring unexpected trouble. The ghost town of Body, California, is protected by a very strange phenomenon, known as the Curse of Body. Every year, tourists secretly pocket rusty square-cut nails, or small rocks as souvenirs. And every year, the park rangers receive hundreds of packages in the mail returning those exact items. The boxes are filled with stolen artifacts and desperate, handwritten apology letters. The senders claim that taking the items brought them severe bad luck. The rangers keep the returned boxes stacked on a modern office desk. Some letters describe flat tires, while others mention lost jobs or strange illnesses. The rangers simply log the items and return them to the dusty ground. The quiet, empty town seems to demand respect. It is perfectly happy to be visited, but it refuses to let any of its history leave. Sometimes, history gets left behind simply because the map changes. Just outside the eastern edge of Yellowstone sits a large rustic log building called Pahaska Tepe. Buffalo Bill built this grand hunting lodge as a strategic tourist trap. He placed it right next to the park's busy entrance to catch wealthy travelers. But years later, the Park Service decided to move the official gate further down the road. The sudden change left the massive lodge stranded deep in the national forest. Today, a paved highway runs quietly past the two-story building. Dappled sunlight filters through the dense pine trees, illuminating the dark wooden logs. It is a beautiful, quiet structure that lost its main purpose overnight. The grand porches sit mostly empty now, listening to the wind in the branches. It is a peaceful retreat, accidentally hidden away by a simple change in the local paperwork. In other places, the modern world crowded right up against the past. The Alamo is one of the most sacred historical sites in Texas. The weathered stone facade of the old mission stands quietly in the center of San Antonio. But if you turn around, you will see a jarring juxtaposition. Directly across the paved street sits a bright, modern wax museum, and a Ripley's, believe it or not. The neon signs flash brightly, reflecting off the windows of passing cars. It is a strange mix of solemn history and loud tourist kitsch. The old stone walls absorb the heat of the day, completely ignoring the busy attractions just steps away. The city simply grew up around the mission, filling every available inch of space. The quiet courtyard of the Alamo remains peaceful, holding its ground while the colorful, noisy modern world spins endlessly right outside its front doors. A few rare places have managed to keep the modern world entirely at bay. The remote village of Lincoln, New Mexico, has deliberately resisted all commercialization. The town maintains a single, quiet dirt road, lined with simple adobe and wooden buildings. There are no gas stations, no neon signs, and no busy tourist traps. The village looks almost exactly as it did during the frontier days of the 1880s. In the late afternoon, the warm, golden light of a desert sunset washes over the dusty street. The air is incredibly still, broken only by the sound of a gentle breeze. The town chose preservation over progress, deciding that quiet history was more valuable than modern convenience. Walking down the main street feels like stepping into a perfectly preserved memory. As the sun dips below the horizon, the little village simply fades into another peaceful, timeless night. Our walk through the Wild West is coming to an end. Wherever you've drifted to, you don't need to come back. There's nothing more to listen for tonight. Sleep well.